All right, so this video is made for people who have been in a significant relationship. It can also cross over into family members or friends or co-workers, but specifically and especially for the people who have been in a relationship with a BPD person. And I'm just going to say borderline because I don't want to keep saying that whole phrase every single time. So I'm just going to say borderline. That can be male, that can be female, it doesn't matter. The cycles are the same. It's going to be definitely individualized for the person that you're dealing with. And so, there's going to be variations because this is on a spectrum. This is on a spectrum. It's not going to be cookie cutter, but there are some baseline characteristics that are similar in just about every situation. So how I came to this is because I was in a relationship with a borderline person, or just with a borderline, because I'm not going to keep doing that. It's just annoying, but with a borderline, and I didn't know what hit me until it was over. And so I was with that person for about a year. We met at work. We're both truck drivers. We met at work, and initially it wasn't even a thing of actually trying to get together or have a relationship. It was more like a co-worker sort of situation where, he was new, I had a little more experience, so we would do what truckers do: share information, sometimes talk, keep each other up when it gets really tough. And so it was that sort of dynamic. And it ended up being a thing where I didn't even really recognize it at that point. Actually, I just didn't recognize it at that point. But I didn't think nothing of us being on the phone for like hours at a time, because we'd look up and it's like, hey, great, we've made it to destination, or the shift is over, or something like that. And didn't think too much of it. It's like, okay, that was great. We were just talking. So I didn't know that this was the honeymoon stage. This was the honeymoon stage where, or what they say, the idolation stage of where they are hanging on to your every word. And so one thing I want to do also is that I'm just going to give that story briefly, because the major focus of this video is the spiritual aspects of borderline and dealing with the borderline. Whew. So to sum it up, things progressed, and we were just like inseparable. And like I said, because of the nature of our jobs and because of how things were, we literally, and I remember saying it like, hey, this isn't healthy. I like it, and it hasn't gotten out of hand yet, but this is not right. We should not be around each other 24/7. And I do mean that in every literary way. 24/7. We would be on the phone. We did everything together. Everything. We went and got our food. We fueled our trucks. We took our showers. We went to sleep. Everything was together. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I was apprehensive, but I'm like, something in me was like, this is not right at all. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, well, if he wants to spend this much time with me, then why am I going to balk about it? Like, okay, then let's go ahead and do it then. Or we just kept doing it then. And so, long story short, I ended up being with him for a year. And I can vouch for what I've learned because I was literally, the only time that I was not with him were when we were on a break. And so that may have happened 4 times, about 4 times in that whole year. And other than that, and then even during the break would be a couple of days to maybe like 5 days. And even during the break, it would be constant texting and messaging. So even though we weren't on the phone talking the 24/7, we are still texting back and forth. And so I have had BPD crammed down my throat. I know this. This thing I do know. This thing I definitely know. So the final split, the final break happens. And it was a thing where in that last month, I was beginning to start to really, really dig deep. I say maybe the last 2 months. I started digging deep, like, okay, number 1, this is not normal. Number 2, I need to find out what's going on here. Number 3, I need to make sense of this because I've never seen anything like this. And so I started my journey, and I, of course, am praying all the way through, like, God, please give me understanding. In your name, like, let me know what this is, because this is insane. This is insane. The frustration, the anger, the sadness, the doom and gloom, like just all of it. Every negative emotion that you can think of, you go through it in extremes. And so do they. And so then you do indirectly. And it just cycles. Cycles around, keeps happening. The cycles do not stop. And so you begin to kind of, well, actually, you know what? You kind of can't figure out, because the trigger points would be different. And so I guess if you could think like a bicycle tire with the spokes in it, whatever spoke you got off on, you would get back on a different spoke. Still the same tire, still circling around, but you would get on and off on different spokes, if that makes sense. That's the best way I can try to describe it. So those last 2 months, I started looking into this. And so I'm looking up like each individual thing. Like, okay, extreme rage. Because I just thought it was anger issues. And so, you know, I'm looking up like anger management and all these different type of things. And I'm just digging. And then I came across all of the symptoms listed under one thing. And I'm like, well, what is this? Because that's him exactly. And so he literally had like 7 out of 9. And then the 8 and 9, those could surface at times, but for sure, strong 7 at all times. Strong 7 at all times. And I'm looking, I'm like, borderline personality disorder. So I'm digging. I started looking up videos on YouTube, listening to different people give their experience with it, listening to what the psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors were saying about it. I also went in chat groups, support chat groups, online. I read forums about it. I mean, I'm BPD out. I was eating, sleeping, breathing, borderline personality disorder. And there was one common thread, and so I'm getting now to the point of the video. There was one common thread that I seen for certain. When I would hear from the borderline themselves giving their accounts, and then I would hear primarily their significant others giving their account of the experience. And it was one thing that covered all of it, and that was torture and torment. Torture and torment is what these people are in. And to make it even worse, because you got to think, we're talking like, what could be that vile? What could be that wicked? How could this be? Demonic influence. Demonic influence, possible demonic possession, all depending on the dynamic and the lineage, history, and all this and that. But we won't go there today. But definitely, it's either influence, possession, oppression, all of these things. But demonic is the root. Demonic is the root because that is the very nature of the tormentors. You know about demons, I tell you what, you don't have to believe. You don't have to believe. Because if you've ever been in this situation, I bet you know what I'm talking about. And I bet that you're a little more open to just saying like, oh man, they just had a jacked up childhood and they're not handling it really well. No. There are people all across this planet who have had bad childhoods, who have had bad relationships, who have been sexually abused. Whatever the borderline has gone through, someone else has gone through it. And we're not all running around like this. So the difference is the demonic influence, the demonic presence. So we're not going to get caught up on if it's possession, if it's not, if they're just being oppressed, if they're just understand that the demonic is there. The demonic is there. We see it and we know it. We feel it and we're living it. But with that being said, look at it. So from the borderline's perspective, they are, and it is unrelenting and nonstop. They are in a constant state of cycling and circles. But then at the same time, there's like this background that hovers and it keeps going nonstop. You know how on your cell phone, apps can run in the background, whether you know it or not? They're just back there running, eating up all your data. Eating up all your data. You don't even know it. Or you might know it. And so you go and turn it off. Well, that's how the existence for the borderline is. That is specifically just how the existence, day to day, night by night, day in, day out, non-stop. And so they're cycling between fear, between sadness, between rage, between self-hate, let alone, they say, they can have, and how could you not? It makes common sense. How could you not have ideas of leaving this earth? Like, this is torture beyond relief. It's pain beyond relief. And eventually, because there's no drug for this pain, there is no Vicodin or tramadol or whatever. There's no pain med for this. There is no psych med for this. And so when you look at it and think about it, the professionals say pretty much there's nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is have you come here and we'll have you in counseling for the rest of your life. That's what they offer. Now, that absolutely can be helpful. I am not knocking it at all. But it's putting a Band-Aid. It's putting a Band-Aid on the issue and definitely covering up the root. We've got to expose the root and pull this weed up. Not just, spray some Roundup knockoff on it, where it doesn't really, it kills the surface, but it didn't get down to the root and kill it. So, the borderline person it would make me cry It did. It would make me cry thinking about how they must feel. It is the absolute worst thing. The absolute worst thing. And they can't make sense of it. And it makes them feel like, why am I even alive? Other people aren't like this. They know this. They feel this. They're cognizant of this. Like, this isn't normal, but it is me. It is my life nonetheless. Even though this is not normal, even though I can't understand why, all I want to do is be loved. All I want to do is be accepted. And it's kind of like the carrot in front of the horse. They keep going and going and going, trying to obtain it. And they never get it to have it. They can have it for a moment, but it leaves. It leaves. And so if that's not demonic, I don't know what is. I do not know what is. And so if you know about how evil spirits, what their agenda is, and it is to destroy you. It is to take your life, take everything within your life, whatever your livelihood is, they want to take it all. And at the end of it, take your life. After they've caused all this destruction, all this chaos, all this pain to all involved. And that's why I say, not just the significant other, because there's family members and there's co-workers and there's friends and there's this and that. Everyone is affected by this. And so this borderline person is almost like a conduit, except for they're experiencing the worst of it because they don't get a chance to escape. Like, we can just walk off. We can just leave and say, hey, you're crazy, I'm out of here. And a lot of us have. Whether we said it that way or not, but a lot of us have. Like, hey, you're about to take me under. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. You're about to take me under. Or you've taken me under several times, and now it's harder for me to come back up. I'm out of here. But anyway, so they're in this constant state. They can't shake it. There are no answers. And so then that's when you come into the self-medication, the extreme behaviors, because they're trying to escape this. They're trying to escape this. Now, with that being said, that's to show you the type of torment that they're under. It is nothing but torment. That's all it is to it. Torture and torment. For whatever reason, or 50 billion reasons, all according to that specific person in their specific situation, it is constant torture and torment. Now, we come to the significant other and what they experience from it. So when I was looking at it, and I'm listening to people, I'm watching their reports, I'm reading what they've posted, and the common theme with them was that, like I said earlier, they were never the same. These people have to go, or have had to go, and get counseling after being with the borderline. Counseling. Now, we've all been in some toxic relationships, some not so beneficial, some not, so good or so great relationships. But not too many of them have had it where you had to go and get counseling. And I mean, these people are devastated. I was devastated. When it finally stopped, I had to walk away. Like, hey, I've had too many losses here. My finances aren't the same. My job status, you tried to get me fired. You tried to get me fired on one of our breakups because you just didn't agree with it. And you tried to get me fired. You told people at my job that I'm XYZ. And even though they actually laughed, thank God they actually laughed at it, but you put me in jeopardy, right? And so, looking at financial loss, we're looking at you not only that, but there were other people too, where you what they call the smear campaign. You did a smear campaign on me because I didn't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. And trust me, I am that type of person where whatever it is, we'll figure it out. We'll get through it. I used to tell him that constantly, like, you know what? I don't understand this, but we will figure it out. We'll get through it. Because of the pain that I seen him in. See, there were times that because I'm a very, very, very observant person, and I'm going to watch and I'm going to study you and I'm going to learn you. And there were times where he did not even know or think that I was paying attention. And all I seen was pain like I have never witnessed before in my life. And if you've lived on this earth, you've had some painful moments. But this sort of pain, that's not normal human pain. This is from a spiritual source. This is coming from a spiritual source, because we're talking sorrow. Not just sadness, not just depression. Oh, I'm so sad today. No, we're talking a deep rooted, I would like to say sleeping volcano, but not, because it's always going off. It's always present, and it's always brewing. I don't know, but sadness. So we are here experiencing all of it, and obviously you care about this person, so you're trying to rack your brain. And so here's where I understood the plot, because after the breakup, a depression had hit me that I have never experienced or been through in my life. And I've been through some breakups in life. We all have. But this particular depression was something that I had to go on a fast and pray myself out of it. It was that deep. It was that deep. Like, I remember I can't remember the actual day, but there was a 2-day period of where I just had to go and lay in my bed. I couldn't even cry. I couldn't even produce tears. The sadness was so much. I'm withdrawing from the relationship. I'm also feeling like I want to go help him. How can I help? How can I help? Let's try to figure this out. I know this information. You don't know this, but I do know it now. And I'm trying to help you to understand what this is. We can figure this out. But we can't. Because the way that it ended, like, it was, there were enough offenses and enough things done to me to where only a completely insane person would go poking the bear with the stick. Like, yes, may I have another? Please give me more. No. I've got to heal myself. And so, I do believe, and you will be able to examine yourself and know this for your situation or on your own. But I do also believe, and this is why I say it's demonic, because they're going to take out all that they can. It's not good enough to just have the borderline. They're also going to take out whoever the borderline comes in contact with. And they also have specific targets. These specific targets, and like I said, examine yourself and see if it doesn't make sense to you, are going to be, I'm going to go with the New Age terminology, although I tread lightly. I tread lightly because, and I'll tell you in a minute, but it's going to be your empaths. We end up being the borderline significant other. It's going to be your hypersensitive people. It's going to be your empathetic compassionate people. And so, once it's all said and done, once Hurricane Borderline comes into our lives and wreaks its damage, and then they go on, they do, or they will, if the gateway is open, cycle back around. But nonetheless, it is still like a hurricane came through and devastated your whole world. And now you are left fragmented and broken with no answers, because you're trying to figure out, what type of human is this who could love me the way they portrayed that they did? And I believed them. It was real. It felt real. And then watch them turn. How could they do such a thing to me? I didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why or how. And so you're trying to figure out. And so you have to understand that you are a target, because this was sent to destroy you. We, people like us, and it's not about trying to be special or trying to be noticed or seen, but I looked at it and I seen it and I said, okay, for sure, in a day and age like this, where people are wrapped up in their own world, people are very self-serving, people are very ambitious, but it's all for their gain. Empaths, compassionate and caring and loving and nurturing type of people are needed now more than ever. Now more than ever, because everything is so out of control and it's so demonic, and it's just like it's so, it's chaos. It is chaos. It's definitely chaos. And we are the anchors. We are the anchors to reel it all in. When everyone runs out and destroys themselves, and they're coming back home tipsy, drunken with what the world has done to them, we are there to mend the pieces and put them back together. It's us. It's us. It's introverts. Think about a lot of the introverts. Or it tends to be people who are empathic tend to also be introverts. We recharge our batteries by connecting to a higher source. Now, for me personally, it is the Most High, and it is Jesus Christ. It is whatever for whomever else. But the thing is, we go inward. We separate from the rest of the world, rest of the people, and we connect to our higher source. And then that's how we regenerate. And then we come back out to the world, because it does. It rears. And let me stop saying us, because I don't want to speak for other people. So I'm going to say me. It wears me out. It wears me out. I'm feeling and absorbing and going through, or pushing off to not absorb everything. And so a typical day can be exhaustive, especially if your energy is low, your morale is low, your spirit is low. And so while the borderline is going through what they're going through, and then they are also being sort of puppeted, for real. Their existence is being puppeted to also get you. And so you're worn down systematically, bit by bit, to where, like I said, by the time you leave, however long that takes, by the time you leave, you are not the same person who came in. You're not the same person who came in. And now it sends you on this chase for the rest of your days, trying to figure out and trying to understand, how could this have happened? What does it say about me? What does it say about them? Can it still be worked out? I love them. Did they love me? Was it ever real? Madness is designed to drive you insane. It is designed to take your sanity, your peace. Well, I'll tell you what, once they take your sanity, then everything else follows suit. So I don't even have to go down the list. Get your sanity first, and then it takes your will, and then it takes your heart. Like it is the most diabolical thing I have ever witnessed in my life. So, with that being said, and there can be other discussions about this, that's the general outline, is that this diabolical agenda is the best way I can try to describe it. You're not crazy. It's not all in your head. The borderline is not crazy. It's not all in their head. They are under the strongest demonic oppression and torment and torture, to where the evil, okay, think about this real quick. Spirits, you can feel them. You don't have to see them. You don't have to be able to see them to know that they're there. When the Holy Spirit is there, you can feel it. When the unclean spirits are there, you can feel it. You can feel it. And so when you begin to look at it and you're like, okay, none of this is making sense. It is extremely painful. It is extremely frustrating. Everything is extreme. Whatever you feel is extreme. And it's meant for your demise. It's meant for your downfall. It's meant for your downfall. It's meant to take your sanity. And so they're, I guess you could say, sort of stuck with it because they can't get rid of it. And it is such an overflow that it's what they give off as well. So I know that we've all been through it in dealing with them. And this is not, oh, feel sorry for the borderline. No. But I'm giving clarity into what it feels like when these horrible, maleficent, demonic spirits, demons, yes, demons. This is their nature. This is their presence. So you were having an encounter with, I gotta say, some of the most powerful of them. You know, there is a hierarchy. Some of the most powerful. And so here is the answer. After all that, this is the answer. You need, and it does not matter whether you are the borderline or you're the person dealing with the borderline. At the end of the day, you need the Holy Spirit and you need Jesus. There is no Buddha. There is no craft or spell or positive talking or affirmations that's going to do this. I'm not asking you to believe. I'm telling you what is so. You have to know spiritual law. When you study spiritual law, you understand that every spirit has to obey the name Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And this is why right now, especially in this day and age where wickedness is really, really running rampant and revving up, so to speak, they want to get you away from Jesus and Christ. And I'm not a church person at all. I don't believe in the politics of church at all. I believe in studying the Word and staying connected with the Most High through His Son Jesus. He says, There are 72 scriptures in the Bible that says the only way to me is through him. I trust your judgment. That's good enough for me. So, and you try it if you want to. Try it if you want to. Whatever you can come up with. But at the end of the day, for you to be delivered from this, because see, what has happened is that those same spirits that are tormenting the borderline have transplanted themselves into you. And that is why you walk off. Even if you never see the borderline again, you walk off changed and different. Changed and different. And it is because the transference has taken place. Assignment completed. Right? Assignment completed. And now you are walking on through life and walking throughout life. Broken like a broken mirror. Fragmented pieces of yourself. A mirror held together by tape. And then sometimes the tape gives way in different areas. It has to be handled by the Holy Spirit. Only spirit can fight spirit. Flesh cannot fight spirit at all. And this is why we need the Holy Spirit. So I'm not against counseling. I encourage therapy. Because you've got to be able to verbalize and get this out. And family members and best friends and all of that, they mean well, but if they have not been through this, they don't have the capacity for how many times you're going to have to say that person's name, or how many times you're going to come up with another revelation or another understanding. You have to ask God to show you. Ask God to show you, because like I said, every situation is different for each person involved. Well, let me tell you this. This is how I did it. Had the depression, and I'm like, no, Lord, this ain't right. I got to still live. I got to still work. I got to still produce. I got to still do whatever. I still got to be present. And so I prayed and I went on a fast. And through those videos and through watching, and of course, first and foremost, through praying and studying His Word and His examples and His life applications and all that, the Most High, I began to get answers. I began to get answers. And that was how I was set free. Because it was a setup for me to be over. It was a setup so that I could never open my mouth again to talk about the goodness of God and His delivering power, and how I was at such a low state from this incident, from this encounter, that I felt like, what is the point of living? Because this is horrible. I'm devastated. The other person is not getting help. What are we doing here? I gave my word to them that I would never leave them. And I had to. So it made me a liar. Like them, oh yeah, it was a lot. There's guilt, there's shame. Okay, so now we're tormented, right? Same torment they were going through, we are now going through and experiencing transference of spirits. Transference of spirits. So let's be clear as I summarize this. The borderline needs to be delivered. That's the only way they're going to be set free. That's the only way. If in the natural sense they're saying that you need lifelong counseling, and that's just to rewire your habits and your patterns of thinking and all that. That's just to rewire that. But you've got to do it for the rest of your life. Let's be realistic. How many borderlines do you think are going to be willing to commit the rest of their lives to go into a counselor, once a month, once every couple of weeks, once a week, whatever? Who can even afford that? Even if they wanted to, who can afford being able to go see this counselor? And like I said, I'm not against it. I'm all for it. But understand, you can see that counselor until you leave this earth. But if you do not get rid of that root, if you do not get rid of the spirits that are responsible for this, there's no solution. You're not going to get better. It's not going to stop. You may get a temporary fix, and you may have more moments of being okay than you used to, but it is never going to stop. And that's the whole point, is that this stops. This stops. You have to get rid of the spirits. So the borderline has to be delivered. The people, especially the significant others, or the children, Lord have mercy, but especially the significant others, especially, you have to be delivered. And then you have to come to a decision. Come to a decision of how you're going to go about keeping yourself as not a target. Because you have to understand, because these are spirits, say you never see that person again, they're going to come back with another face. They're going to come back with another face. So you have to become your own spiritual warrior. And you need the Holy Spirit to give you the eyes of discernment, so that you, soon as you see those spirits coming back around, because if you think about it, look at it real close. If you think about it, this ain't your first time running into something like this. Now, it may not have been, or it may have, as extreme as your relationship with the borderline. But these sort of people, wounded people, this is not your first time dealing with this. This is not your first time running into this. And it's because those same spirits have been around for the longest, coming at you, trying. It is spiritual. It is spiritual. And your true healing, the one that lasts, not the temporary fix, is when you let the Holy Spirit take over and nurture you back to health and give you understanding of what it is you've just been through and why. And also let the Holy Spirit remove the unclean spirits. Remove their influence. Remove their assignment of you being the target. Yes. 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 It is spiritual law. I'm not trying to convert anyone to Christianity or being Baptist or whatever. I'm telling you, if you want out, this is the way. And it is that simple. I'm not here to debate, because if you hurting like how I was, oh yeah. Show me how. Tell me how. I'm going to do it. Because this right here, I can't even survive. I can't live like this. And so, I know this to be true. I know it to be a fact. because I also study and have been for over, well, a little over 20 years now, for certain. Spiritual warfare. Studied it, taught it at different times. And so I'm not just a novice as far as, oh, I went through this catastrophic thing, then I looked up online and I picked a few little random things, and then now I'm making a video to try to help. No, that's not what's going on here. That's not what's going on here. But I'm not advising or offering a service. I'm telling you how to break this, because now that the transference has happened, you're not getting away. Sorry, but you're not getting away. And it sets you up to where anything else that happens after this is just another nail in the coffin that is you. So that's what I have. That's what I know. And this is to give those that are suffering, whether you're the borderline or whether you're the person who's dealing with them. It's not even to give you hope. It's to give you the blueprint of how to stop this. Because it has to be stopped. It cannot be placated. It cannot be dealt with. We're not coping with this thing. This thing has to be stopped. And there's no other way around it. Paint it up how you want. You're the one that's going through it. So I guess whatever your threshold is, like I said, I'm not trying to convince or convert. But this is the blueprint. This is how you get back on one accord with yourself, with life, with the Creator. Because you're forever in prison from this point. You're forever in prison from this point. And those things that torment the borderline, and we get a taste of it, that is horrible. Horrible. And so, again, they need to get delivered. You need to get delivered. Counseling is always an added bonus in therapy. But if you don't get rid of it through the Holy Spirit, I'm telling you, you're wasting your time. I hope that helps. May you be blessed as you're sorting through and figuring things out. But understand that the spiritual aspect of the borderline personality disorder and your encounters with it, if you do not address the spiritual part of it, then just be prepared. Be prepared. Blessings to you all. I don't think I'm going to do another video. I just wanted to share that information. I'm not trying to build some channel or platform. I'm a truck driver. I'm a truck driver, for crying out loud. I'm not trying to prolong this, because that is the answer, and there's nothing else to that. But I will leave my email address. I do know of some great therapists and counselors from studying and doing the research, and I do know of some people who are Holy Spirit filled, who can do the deliverance. Now, I haven't ran it past them yet, so I gotta find a way to get hold of them, and you know, should things go that way, give them the heads up. But there are deliverance, real deliverance ministers who can help you take care of the spiritual aspect of it. And then also, like I said, the counselors, the therapists, the psychiatrists and psychologists who give, there's some links. I'll put the links in the video or in the comment section, wherever you put the links at. Put the links down there for the resources. Blessings to you. Just because you even made it here, God is with you. And you're getting to your answers, you're getting to your solutions. Grace and mercy be unto you.